start the webinar. I welcome you all to today's webinar. I am Niroshni from Academic Solutions team at Vartana. This webinar is hosted by Vartana. As you know, Vartana is an NBFC in the education space, providing financial help and solution to schools through school loans and student loans, as well as Vartana offers beyond loans, which comprises academic solutions, wherein through which we conduct a series of webinars for the schools. This helps the schools to build capacity right from school leaders to teachers, and we have been doing this for the past 1 year. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the participants who have been consistently attending our webinars. And I hope this would be very useful and it is impacting your classroom. And we will also continue to deliver and conduct these webinars in the forthcoming days. We request you to stay tuned and register for all these webinars. And this would be of great help in building capacity in your teachers. Also, lastly, I would like to highlight an important feature of this webinar, where we provide a participation certificate for each and every participant. And this is eligible for the participants who stay till the end of the session. So kindly fill up the feedback form which we release in the end of the session so that you can get your participation certificate. So stay till the end of the session. So it will be very, very helpful, and you can use these strategies in your school as well as your classroom. So without any further ado, let's go to our webinar session for today. Positive behavior management, wherein we help to create supportive classroom culture in your schools. So as educators, we all believe that we are transforming young minds and we are shaping young minds. We are getting them ready for the future, and we develop skills, impart knowledge to them. So school system here plays a very, very vital role. And through this session, we hope we will definitely together understand and discuss how we can effectively manage our classroom as well as build a positive learning environment for our students. So let's go into the session. Before that, I would like to launch a poll to understand the participant profile. You will be able to see the poll in your screen. Kindly answer it. So let's, today I see a lot of teachers for the session. I hope this session would be useful for us. I hope you can see my screen. So today's agenda, we would broadly cover session objectives. Then we look at behavior management in general and its importance. And we look at student behavior and what is the main causes for it. And then we will look at positive behavior management and its impact. And we'll also see 3 tiered levels of positive behavior management. And then we will close with the feedback form. Let's see what are the important objectives for today. So we will understand different student behaviors and its underlying causes. We will also discuss positive behavior management strategies and its implementation within a classroom environment. So let's see what is behavior management in general. So it is a method of behavioral modification which focuses on maintaining order inside the classroom. In this approach, students' misbehavior is met with fair and consistent repercussions. It allows the teachers to spend more time in learning and instructional activities rather than, like controlling the behavior, which in turn impacts the learning of the student. So why this behavior management is very important inside a classroom is it directly impacts the student learning outcomes. So teacher would come with fully prepared lesson plans and she is ready to execute the lesson plan. So if there is a misbehavior in the classroom, if that diverts, then it becomes a problem. So it directly impacts the student learning outcomes. And as I mentioned, it impacts the teacher productivity as well as teacher mindset. Also, in turn, it impacts the classroom culture, which, overall, it impacts the school culture. So let's see how behavior management in total impacts. It creates a appropriate environment for the learning to take place inside the classroom. So if we have proper behavior management in place, if we have that system in place, it gives a very good environment for the students to learn and it gives a safe, calm environment for learning for the children without any hustle, and it promotes better student-teacher relationship as well as peer relationship. So to students, and students also will have a very good learning environment if we have an appropriate behavior management in place. So I would like to highlight a study that was conducted by IIT Delhi Research Academy, where the study says across India, it suggests that the prevalence of behavioral concerns amongst children is between 11.48% to 45.6%, which is a large, chunk of students who have behavioral concerns, which directly impacts student learning outcomes as well as teacher productivity in class. So because of behavioral issues, teachers face a lot of hampering in teacher productivity in delivering their lessons. So this is what the study shows. I would like to discuss with you, why do you think students misbehave in class according to you? Let's make this session a very interactive session. Kindly raise your hands to answer, or you can even drop your thoughts in the Q&A chat box. See hands raised. Ma'am, I would like to give access to you. Kindly talk. I have given you access. Kindly unmute yourself and you will be able to talk. Would you wish to talk?
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am. Hi, good evening. Very good evening.
Ma'am, your face and your screen is looking so small my this webinar time. So what should I do?
Sorry, I am not able to understand, ma'am. Can you repeat?
Screen is looking too small in my mobile.
I have kept my screen on full mode. I'm not sure about
But
it.
it might be small.
So Shri, is it the same for you?
Yes, ma'am. Full screen it is not coming. It is so small in one small corner.
Are you facing any difficulties in seeing the presentation itself, ma'am?
Just now your face I can see properly, but when you will show some slides and all, I will unable to see that.
Yeah. I have kept it in full mode.
What should I do for that?
Ma'am, try rejoining once again. Maybe you will be able to see.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
I can see Sapna ma'am raising her hand. Tamil Mani ma'am, I'm allowing you to talk. Ma'am, you can unmute yourself, Sapna ma'am, and you can share your thoughts. You just need to unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am. Kindly share your thoughts.
Ma'am, I think that the students, you asking the question about the misbehavior in the class, whenever we teach the lesson, they did not attend class, that time they not understanding the ideas about the we learn.
That's very true. If they don't understand, they try to misbehave. Thank you so much, Sapna ma'am. I can also see a couple of responses on the Q&A box. Due to previous school atmosphere, very true. Now, okay, I'll give you access, Navindra Kumar sir. Children misbehave to seek attention, absolutely. How to inculcate good behavior during class teaching time? Sometimes they already know the topic, so they are not interested. Absolutely, very, very true. One last response from Navindra Kumar sir. I have given you access, sir. You can unmute and talk. Yeah, sir, you're audible. Please go ahead, sir.
Regarding, according to me, the student means there is a gap between student and class. So that time student behave differently. Like I am teaching you and you are teaching me. Then if we have a good relationship and we are on the same level, so definitely I will not misbehave with you, and I
Absolutely.
can share my problem properly with you. Like if there is a gap, then I cannot share my problems. I don't know the topic. Even I am not interested to what you want to teach us. Definitely that time they try to misbehaving and ignoring that topic or that class.
Absolutely. All responses are very, very valid. Thank you so much, all of you who have shared your thoughts, sir. So let's discuss why students misbehave generally in classroom. All your responses were very true. Like there is a gap. Also, because of previous school atmosphere, they are not interested. They don't know the topic, or they already know the topic, so there is a boredom in them. So all these are very, very valid responses and very appropriate. That's why students misbehave in class. Now let's look at in general why like children misbehave in a certain way. So the root cause of the behavior are often very, very complex, if you see, and it is very multifaceted. Sometimes when we assign a task to the child himself, he doesn't know why he is finding it difficult to do, why the like what teacher is asking us to do. And in order to eradicate or mitigate these things immediately, like teacher wants the child, or the teacher like brings the attention back to the class. But we also need to understand that we need to see the problem from the child's point of view, because we also need to know that this is a very, very vital skill that we as teachers need to learn, or if there is a requirement, we need to relearn the process of like how do we effectively manage behavior inside classroom, and then we could implement in our classrooms. Let's see some of the important factors that contribute to a child's behavior. Number one would be expectations. Some Those of you have answered during the discussion time. Children might have gaps, children might have expectations for a particular classroom. If that is not met, for example, they know the topic much in advance, at least they know like a broader concept of it, then definitely like they lose their interest if we kind of repeat a lot of things, and then boredom like seeks in, and then they stop listening to the class, and in turn they start misbehaving. Also, levels of development. If you see, there are so many milestones for children to like show different levels of development, right from early ages to primary. He transitions into a primary classroom, and then like it goes on. So there are different levels of development, so we need to cater according to the level of the child. So that is also important. I would like to highlight Navindra Kumar sir's point. This signifies levels of development, so there shouldn't be a gap. So we need to appropriately deliver the content to the child, so that is the first thing that we need to focus on. Also, there are a lot of emotional stressors, so the previous class would have not like gone really well, or there might be some family issues that the child would have faced that particular morning. So there could be any kind of emotional stressors that the child has faced earlier, so that could also be a reason for the misbehavior inside the classroom. Also, physical and sensory needs. So children, we know there are different types of learners, right, from kinesthetic to audiovisual learner. So depending on the need of the learner, we need to also modify a lesson plan, incorporate like models, so that we cater to all kinds of children. This also plays a vital role. Children try to like imitate a lot in their early ages. So whatever they kind of see at home, they try to like do in school. So whenever we see an improper behavior or a misbehavior, then we need to understand how can we take a corrective measure for it. Also, relationship and demand. So for example, a peer is actually showing a disruptive behavior. It also creates the tendency for a child who is actually behaving good to like copy that disruptive behavior. So these are all the important factors that contribute to a child's behavior. Now let's see, like I wanted to conduct a small activity with you. Just take 30 seconds to 1 minute of your time and think through 3 undesirable behavior that children engage in your classroom setting. It could be while you're delivering your lesson, or it could be, generally in a classroom setting. Just think of 3 undesirable behavior that children, explicitly show in your classroom setup. Take 30 seconds to 1 minute of your time. You can drop your responses in the chat box. Think through that, or you can even raise your hands and share it with us. Think through which, where it hampers your daily activities, like delivering your lesson plan or examples I've given. So think through and let me know. You can even drop it in the Q&A box. Spotlight syndrome, I can already see responses. Yeah. Talking to the peers, yeah, that disturbs the teachers a lot. Good evening, Ramya ma'am. Just take a couple of more seconds and just kindly fill 3, misbehavior activities that children show in your classroom. Less IQ, yeah, that could be a reason. Attention deficit, does not pay attention. Not giving response, disturb student and teacher, yeah, generally happens in the classroom. Talking with the peers, complaint every now and then, true. Yeah, I did see a couple of responses. I'll just read it out. Relatives at home, they get excited. Disturbing behavior disturbs other children. Yeah. Children gossiping while explaining. Making faces to distract. Chatting with friends in whispering tone. Yeah. Doubts in between and not keeping well. Very true. Try to imitate whatever teacher is explaining. Looking outside the classroom. True. Talking to each other. So thank you so much for being so interactive. So yeah, understanding that, a lot of problems arise because of behavior inside the classroom. Like I did read a lot of responses that, deliberately showed that talking, gossiping, mostly talking with the peers, not paying attention to the classroom. So there are different set of behaviors that children generally, show inside the classroom. So some of it, when we notice, it actually hampers the teacher's productivity, as we discussed earlier. So now let's understand, what are the different types of behavior that generally, students show, and let's see what is the cause that is making them to do such kind of behavior. So let's see what is a positive behavior and what is a negative behavior that child shows inside the classroom. So a positive behavior is which involves both words and actions that ensures the well-being and dignity of that individual and those around them. So generally, some students generally don't disturb the classroom setup at all. They are very attentive. They do their job. For example of positive behavior, I've listed a couple of them here for you. They are on task, they are organized, and they are attentive in classroom. So similarly, if you see, we did see a lot of responses about misbehavior. Let's see what is negative behavior. It is generally described as displaying an attitude of behavior that is undesirable for the environment. For example, a lot of you told that they talk amongst the peer, they imitate the teacher while the lesson delivery is happening. Examples of negative behaviors I have given here. Say mostly they are off task, and they are generally disorganized, and they're not listening to the teacher at all, and they're distracted throughout the session. So we need to understand what is the root cause of this behavior. Why are they behaving in such a way? What is making them to do, and what is the child's mindset when they are doing this? So Rudolf Dreker has laid out a goal of misbehavior. This generally sets out why children, misbehave in classroom. What is the child's goal to do? Child, as we saw earlier, child doesn't want to, like show misbehavior in classroom just like that, but he wants to, like achieve something just because to, like it could be different reasons, but like seeking attention from the teacher. So generally, if a student decides to, like take the attention from the teacher, he just wants to grab the attention. So he displays a lot of misbehavior, like talking to the peers, disturbing them, like imitating the teachers, just now how we discussed. Also, display of inadequacy. Like I think rightly sir pointed out that if they don't understand the topic, or if there is a gap of what a communication gap between the teacher and the student, child is not able to understand the basic task that the teacher is explaining, then again he starts his misbehavior inside the classroom. Then if in case if the teacher kind of like wants to take a corrective measure, or if she gives a verbal warning, or if she kind of like asks the child to keep quiet in front of so many children, then the child eventually sets into an revenge mode, and he wants to like take that revenge by disturbing others. Then if you see acquiring the power, like at that particular situation, he wants to show that he is more powerful than the teacher even, so he wants to display misbehavior by disturbing the entire classroom environment. So in order to develop an understanding of student behavior, we need to be more specific and objective, and calm be calm in your reactions to undesirable behavior, because it will yield the worst result if we try to react to all kinds of negative behavior inside the classroom. Let's see in detail, like the causes of different student behavior and what could be some of the alternative solutions. So according to Rudolf Drecker, all humans as social beings want to belong and be accepted by others. So this is why he says that like children tend to show a lot of misbehavior inside the classroom when the like broadly these things don't happen. Like the sense of belongingness inside the classroom. I am being loved by the teacher, and I've been accepted by my peers and my teacher. If they don't feel this themselves, then they start like explicitly showing their misbehavior and disturbing the entire classroom. Now let's see one by one, what is child's faulty belief, and why, what is the end goal of the child to like start showing this disruptive behavior, and what could be a counter teacher reaction if in case if the like the teacher tries to correct this kind of behavior. If we are trying to respond to this, what will happen, and we will also see the alternative solution to it. So first one would be like if the child's goal is attention, then the child has this faulty belief of I belong only when I'm being noticed or served. So teacher has 30 or 40 students inside the classroom, whereas if this child decides that I want attention, then like he starts showing disruptive behavior. And then if there is a counter reaction from the teacher, the feeling of the teacher would be like at that point of time would be very annoying. And if we react to that particular situation, for example, like if we try to remind the children through a verbal warning, or if we kind of like in front of the whole classroom, if we try to consistently remind or coax, then immediately he responds to that situation, wherein he temporarily stops the misbehavior. But like after some time, even after 5 minutes of teacher starting the class, he resumes the same behavior or disturbs in another way. So how can we like provide alternative solution to such kind of behavior is give attention only for positive behavior, as we discussed earlier, like how a positive behavior will look like, and avoid undue attention to like situations where like consistently you are it will make them think that you're targeting that particular child. So avoid undue attention for such situation. Example like reminding, punishing, or rewarding, coaxing, just ignore that particular situation for them. If it is very serious, then please attend to. If not, try and avoid undue attention. If in case if the child thinks that I belong only when I'm in control or I'm the boss, I'm proving no one can be my boss. In this particular belief if the child is having, then like the child's goal is to acquire power over that situation. So if in case if the teacher starts to argue, or obviously the teacher will start feeling angry or provoked when such kind of behavior is shown. But if in case we are like trying to argue, or if we are trying to fight at that particular situation, definitely the aggressive misbehavior will be intensified to the maximum, either actively by engaging in an argument, or passively by disturbing other children or even the teacher. And child will tend to submit with a defiant compliance. Also, for this kind of situation, we need to have a strong alternative solution by like calming ourselves down first, and then withdraw from the conflict, and help this child see how to use power constructively. Immediately while we are delivering the lesson, we will not be able to do it's practically not viable. But when you get one-on-one conversation time, ignore as I said in the first part, ignore undue attention, and then try to like help the child to see how power could be constructively used. Like where it could be used constructively, it could be an activity of like taking that leadership role, and like explaining other peers. You can explain them how you could constructively use power. And also, you as teachers, or like instructors, you need to believe that, also realize that fighting or giving in that particular situation will automatically increase the child's desire for power. So the next part would be like when child's belief would be like I belong only by hurting others as I feel hurt. This could be a situation where the teacher or the peer would have said something that the child is hurt at that particular time, so immediately he switched to this revenge mode, where like he wants to like start a fight or start an argument. At that particular time, teacher needs to calm down. You need not feel hurt at that particular time, or the feeling of retaliation, you should subdue it. And instead of like doing this, it will, if in case if you're doing to retaliate, or like starting an argument with the child, then it intensifies the misbehavior, as I mentioned earlier, and he decides to choose another weapon, rather increasing the misbehavior. So in order to provide an alternative solution for such situation, try to avoid feeling hurt. You as an instructor or a teacher, you need to calm yourself first, and then avoid punishments at such situation, as well as retaliation. And in order to like establish such kind of like alternative solution, you need to build a good relationship right from the beginning, and make the child understand that he is respected inside this classroom, he is valued, he is loved inside the classroom. So we need to understand the situation in a very calm tone, and then take action rather than reacting to the situation. Last part would be where the child's belief would be I belong only by convincing others not to expect anything from me. So this shows this goal of display of inadequacy, as we mentioned earlier, where if the child thinks this task is not for me, I will not be able to do it, then he starts to misbehave in the classroom, not listen in the classroom. So generally, when this happens, teacher goes with a full-fledged plan and see that like there is a lot of attention deficit in the children, they are not listening to me. So there will be like a lot of hopelessness for the teacher as well. So at that particular time, teachers generally have this tendency to agree with the child, saying that like you are not capable of doing this. Like we say statements like these also. But in order to avoid this situation, we need to calm ourselves down, as we say, and then understand how we could alternatively provide an appropriate situation. And if in case if we are reacting to the child in such a way, then like children show no improvement when we are delivering the lesson plan, as well as he fails to respond or passively responds to whatever is done. So that can happen when reactions like this go from teachers. So we need to stop all the criticism, saying negative statements, using negative like reinforcement doesn't help at this situation. We need to encourage the child using positive attempts, though no matter how small efforts the child is like showing. Even if he's prepared for the classroom, please appreciate the child just by like organizing his things on the table. Absolutely, you need to appreciate and acknowledge that kind of positive behavior. And don't go into this mode of like giving up on the child, or he's capable only so much of doing. In that situation, we need to motivate the child rather than labeling the child. So these are some of the important causes that Rudolf Dreker's theory explains why children behave in such situation, and what is their end goal when they do all these misbehaviors inside the classroom. What do they think in their mind? We have shown you the causes with alternative solution. So by promoting positive learning behavior and mitigating and minimizing negative behavior, you can definitely improve the environment as well as create a good positive learning environment that is conducive for learning and student interaction. Now let's discuss what kind of behavior management techniques that you follow in your classroom. So we know that you have known that students generally misbehave, but you might have employed some kind of behavior management techniques in your classroom. If you have any behavior management techniques that you follow, kindly let us know by raising your hands, or you can even drop it in the Q&A box. Kindly drop your okay, I can see by Ravni, collaborative learning is something that you are using inside your classroom. Excellent. Any other responses? I stand, keep quiet and look at them without shouting at them. Excellent. That's a good strategy by, making them understand that your attention is on the child. Thank you, Uma ma'am, for responding. Before starting the chapter, we will make them to play a game. Excellent way of controlling and bringing back the attention before learning. A lot of you have said collaborative learning. Excellent. Involve students with various example. Misbehavior child, I give the star. Okay. Ice breaking activity. Definitely before starting a classroom lesson, we can conduct activities like ice breaking activity. Understand what students want from the teacher. Do not show himself expert, and students do not topic, learn with play. Yeah, understand. Like treating them as learning partners. Absolutely. Children love that. Peer works. Great. Thank you so much for answering in the Q&A box. All these strategies that you use in your classroom to in order to bring back their attention, in order to make them quiet, in order to start a lesson, you start doing activity to bring back their attention as well as to calm them down. And most of the time some teachers stop reacting, as we saw in the Q&A box. Stand quiet and just pay attention. Child will know that you are paying attention to him. So that is also a very appropriate method to do by not reacting. So let's see what is positive behavior management and how it impacts the classroom. So generally we did see about positive behavior, how children exhibit positive behavior, and how we recommend to start implementing positive behavior. Let's see in detail what is positive behavior management and its impact. So positive behavior management focuses on preventing negative behavior and encouraging positive behavior rather than reacting to or punishing negative behavior. Using positive behavior management approach, students understand positive and negative behavior, wherein student will know what we are supposed to do and what we are not supposed to do inside the classroom. Importantly, we will also see why this is very, very important. Why positive behavior management has a major impact. So this saves a lot of time. It develops consistency. It develops routine and habit in children. It reduces disruptive behavior in the later stages. Maybe initially when you're starting to implement positive behavior management in your classroom, it might take some time, but in the later stages, it completely, like reduces, or it brings down to a very, very lesser number of children showing disruptive behavior in your classroom. It overall improves school culture, and it paves way for better student relationship. So here we will be discussing 3 tiered levels of positive behavior management before, like diving deep into this topic. Generally, we kind of implement a lot of strategies when we are, like especially when we are trying to control behavior. So we try to, like do it for a whole classroom approach. So here, this method explicitly explains how it is important to, like divide the behavior management into 3 different tiers and start implementing one by one. By implementing it, you will understand what works best in your classroom and what will work for the whole classroom and what will work for most disruptive children. Let's see. So this principle, the positive behavior management rests on the principle of progressive levels of individualization to prevent and address challenging behavior. So when we talk about tier 1, this level of support caters to the whole class approach, and this targets the majority of the learning population within a setting. So if you take in your classroom, majoritively of the children, 80% of them, actually when you set expectations, they follow it. They actually know what they're supposed to do in their classroom. When you implement a certain kind of expectations in your classroom, even if you're playing an activity or if you're delivering a lesson plan, if you set the expectations clearly, they will know what they're supposed to do. But there are remaining 12 to 15% of the learners who show disruptive behavior even when you set expectation. So those children can be, like given targeted support at tier 2. And tier 3 is basically, though you have done a lot of targeted support to this 12 to 15% of the children, but yet you're not seeing any improvement. You're not seeing any kind of, like progress in their behavior, though you have done a lot of positive reinforcement, but you don't see a change. So then you require more intensive personal as well as specialized support. So we will discuss each and every tier now. Let's see how do we implement PBS within classroom. So you have to first set clear expectation to the children, and then you have to model the behavior. So for example, if you're setting expectation like keep your hands and legs to yourself, be seated in your, like in your seat respectively till the class gets over. If you're explicitly telling it to them, you have to model that to the children first to for them to understand it and to follow. And then you have to consistently use reminders, and like for at least for a month you have to be very consistent in reinforcing it quite a lot of times for them to set into that structure. And you have to acknowledge when they are using these behaviors or insisting their peers to behave in a certain way. You should acknowledge and appreciate, and then evaluate the system. If it is right, then you can continue with the same set of expectations. If not, try and modify it so that they understand it in a simple way. So let's see tier 1 whole class approach. So these strategies help in creating positive learning environment that proactively teaches and richly reinforces pro-social behavior. So for example, when we are setting clear expectations, remember how do we set it? We'll see it in the forthcoming slides. So second strategy would be behavior specific praise. Third one would be catch them being good. And the last one would be shaping and pre-correction. So by using these 4 whole classroom approach, it would be easy for you to, like set these 80% of these students in track. So they will know what they're expected to do, when they're supposed to do, and what kind of rewards they would get if they are actually being good inside the classroom. So when we are setting expectation, I have shown you a clear example in the picture below. We need to be very clear. We need to use a lot of visual cues stating what is the expected behavior inside the classroom. It could be different for inside the classroom setup as well as, like for breaking for lunch or breaking for if they are going to a singing class to a next building, how they are supposed to do, what is the corridor rules or hallway rules. If they are breaking for lunch to the cafeteria, what kind of rules they need to follow. So we need to have explicit rules for them, because children in general think that, okay, I need to only maintain my decorum and discipline inside the classroom, but it is how we deliberately tell them what we are supposed to do inside as well as outside the classroom, and consistently directing the students to use these expectations and rules frequently. And you need to understand how they apply and how they continue to maintain this throughout. So that is setting clear expectation for children. I have given a couple of classroom rules here. So before the class, they're supposed to come in quietly, get their necessary materials, check whether they have sharpened pencil and or pen. So these are some basic examples for before classroom. And during the classroom, if you see, these are the expectations that we expect from the student. We need to explicitly model it to them. Like I did see some responses like calling out in between, talking in between. So these rules you can implement as expectations during the classroom. Stay focused, no off task talking. And after the classroom, children generally like put their books inside their bags even before the task is complete. So you can have rules like no early packing until the teacher tells you have to wait till the dismissal comes. So you need to explicitly explain with simple language, and it has to be very clear with attractive visual aids. So here I would like to just highlight a study that was conducted earlier, where it was conducted by Wings Institute. They constantly implemented and they reviewed their rule system, wherein students started showing top 4 social qualities, where 89% of the students showed respect after implementing rules in their classroom, and 72% of them showed responsibility, and 64% of them showed safety, and 27% of them showed learning readiness. They were ready to the classroom. And top 4 behavioral changes that was observed in the students were 55% of the students used kind words and actions, and 49% of them followed the instruction given by the teacher, and they remained seated in their respective places. 75% of them showed improvement, and 65% of the students had their materials prepared before classroom. So all these can happen even in our classrooms when we have clear expectations set for the children, as well as we consistently practice this till they come into the routine. So this is the first strategy in whole classroom approach. Second would be behavior specific praise. So as I said, we need to acknowledge the positive behavior that students show. When we talk about behavior specific praise, when we are trying to correct the child, by for example, if the child is not listening to us, then if we are correcting the child by using a positive statement, one positive corrective statement requires 4 affirmative positive statements for them to okay, I received one corrective statement from the teacher, but teacher in turn also appreciates my behavior when I appropriately do it. So for one corrective statement, 4 statements to affirm their positive also has to be told to the child. So I would like to show a couple of examples what behavior specific praise statements would look like. For example, if the behavior is sharing toys with other children, you can use statements like excellent job sharing the toys that you are playing with. Then if you're if the child is saying sorry after hurting someone, then you can immediately positively state a praise statement by, wow, awesome work Asha for saying sorry and helping Tim to get up. So whenever you notice something, kindly attend to it and use a lot of positive statements. For one corrective statement, you have to use 4 affirmative positive statements. I would like to show you a small video how the teacher, uses a corrective statement as well as positive statement. Just a minute.
Do our hero point for being on time. Thank you to all of you who were on time today. You see, Marissa's not in here anymore. Yes, sir. Let's get your starter out.
I don't have starter.
So what do you do if you don't have a starter? I don't have yours, but I can get you a new one.
Okay. I know. I was thinking. Can I have one?
Yes, you can. The PBS 4-to-1 strategy is that for every one corrective statement I might make, for instance, saying, Michael, will you please get out your paper? I'll follow it up with 4 positive statements. So maybe saying, thank you for getting your paper out, or thank you for getting your pencil out. And then throughout the period, I'll continue those positive statements. Thank you, Elmer, for working on your starter. Thank you, Jace. Ladies, thank you. 5 seconds, finish up your last thought. Okay, thank you guys so much for being quiet. That was amazing. A duplicate of that something. That was an awesome answer. Jace, what did he say again? I heard you say it too.
A duplicate.
A duplicate. Thank you, Jace. So a duplicate of something. Now, a positive statement, to me, a positive statement is praising the child or the student for something they did that was correct, that was following my expectation or my procedure. So anything I see that follows an expectation, I'm going to acknowledge it and I'm going to make a positive statement regarding it. So, hey, Michael, thank you so much for doing your starter. Thank you so much for following the procedure of working on your starter.
Thank you so much. I hope all of you would have seen the video where the teacher had used one corrective statement, but yet she was using 4 more positive statements, but immediately she kind of used a couple of positive statements and she carried out throughout the session to, like acknowledge positively across the classroom. So, so this kind of behavior specific praise, you can practice it in your classroom to improve the learning environment. So by implementing, we insist that such kind of, like practices inside your classroom can bring down the negative behavior vastly. So according to a study that is published in the journal Education Psychology, teachers who praise see a 30% increase in good behavior from students. So when we acknowledge it and keep praising the students for their behavior, then definitely we can see a positive behavior that is vitally across the classroom. So the third strategy would be catching them being good. So this is actually when we see, acknowledge there is a positive behavior consistently, the child is actually showing good behavior, then you can issue a small handwritten note or a ticket where end of the week you can collect all the tickets or the handwritten notes that the child has, and you can have a corner where saying this is the best behaved child throughout the week or student of the month. You can have so many practices like that. And also who receives such kind of notes from the teacher need to be appreciated in front of the class so that everyone will know that the child actually, like uses positive behavior throughout. And even peers can recognize their use this method where students recognize each other that this child is actually consistently being positive. You can have like ticket system for that as well. I've showed a couple of samples here and we have attached these samples to the handouts also. where you can like start using it in your classroom. So broadly we have shown an example how this method can be used inside the classroom. So first set examples of like what is a positive behavior, what is an example of it, and what is a non-example of it. Clearly, as we saw how we used to do implementation by setting first and consistently following. First set expectation and then tell them like what are the non-examples of positive behavior, what are the examples of positive behavior, and then you can have like a small alarm system inside your class. Initially, when you're implementing these in your classrooms, we recommend this model where you can set a timer for 20 minutes. Within that 20 minutes, if you see that the children are behaving according to the expectation, definitely acknowledge the positive behavior by giving a like caught being good ticket. And then we would also recommend to ignore the negative behavior by, for example, a simple like behavior of not being attentive in classroom. Just for first time you ignore the behavior, rather like concentrate on the other child who's showing positive behavior. Child will automatically come into the position where he will also want to like receive that ticket. So likewise you can positively reinforce inside the classroom. Data again here shows that like children who get praised a lot of times for at least 5 times a day are better behaved, they are calm, and they are less inattentive than those who don't receive such kind of praise for their behavior. So we need to acknowledge positive behavior inside the classroom. The last strategy would be shaping and pre-correction. So this starts, it could be as simple as greeting the children in their when they're coming inside the classroom, where this time you can take the opportunity to like shape the behavior of the child or set a positive tone in the morning by using a lot of motivational words, or just giving a high five would definitely like change the mood if he has an emotional stressor in the morning. So you can use positive greetings at the door with pre-corrective reminders. Can you see in the picture? I think the teacher is actually greeting the child and like talking to the child in the morning before he enters inside the classroom. So how does it look like? Greet the student by name. So children love when teacher know their name. So students expect this from teacher. So greet the students by the name. Make an eye contact with them. You can use either non-verbal gestures or you can use motivational statements before they enter. Also, you can even ask how their day is. So this gives you a clarity whether child is feeling happy or child is actually sad in the morning. Accordingly, you can track the behavior of the child. Again, here by implementing this method, if you see from 50%, there is 80%, they have gone to 80% by being on task inside the classroom. And disruptive behaviors have fell from 15% to less than even 5%. So when we start implementing and being consistent, you can see even this at your classroom. So we have discussed tier 1 model here, where we saw 4 strategies in this model, how we could apply it for the whole classroom, how this approach could be used for the whole classroom. I would like to quickly launch a poll just to like understand about this, whether whether you feel you have any questions or whether this has been cleared to you. I'll just launch the poll. Kindly answer this question. I see the maximum vote has been given to number 4, because in behavior specific praise strategy, for one corrective statement, we need to use 4 praise statements. I think we did see that in the video as well. Thank you all for voting the poll. Let's get back to the session. So here we will now see tier 2, where you have implemented the whole class approach, but yet you see that 12 to 15% of the students who consistently show disruptive behavior. What can be done for that particular children? So these again create a positive learning environment for the targeted group of students. The first strategy would be implementing a support system for the child. We need to understand, we know we did see about the causes that is making the child to, like create all these disruptive behavior. We need to steadily understand how we need to support this child and how can we implement it in our classroom. We need to implement a consequence system inside the classroom. And then last would be love and logic language. Let's see the first strategy. Implement a support. Here, when you see there is a consistent misbehavior by that particular child, then first step would be, like offering support to the child. So, like you can make an eye contact, or, like as we discussed, you can pay attention to the child, or you can give a general reminder as such for the whole classroom without targeting the child. Or if you see that behavior, then, like just a gentle pat on the back will make sure that the child has been, like noticed by the teacher. And then you can, even if it is persistently continuing inside the classroom, post class you can have a one-on-one conversation or review of their behavioral expectation. So how can we provide a structured support? For such students, you can have an employee, you can employ a behavior contract with them, saying that if you, like if you reduce your behavior, then automatically, like you can increase their reward systems. So you can have separate set of expectation for such children, which will motivate them further and will bring them into the circle of positive behavior management. By implementing a behavior contract with them, it can be as simple as a verbal, like agreement with the child. By implementing such, like strategy, students have steadily, like shown a disciplinary change within, like 2 weeks of time. And you can use a calm down corner where, like if you cannot control the situation at that particular point of time, you can, use a calm down corner where you put the child on a separate corner. You can have a calm down corner inside your classroom. You can put the child, and once you assign the work to the entire classroom, you can take it up at that particular time. Till then, the child, either he cannot disturb the other peer, or he can use that time to calm himself down with whatever thing that is disturbing him. By implementing such kind of strategy, you can, like see 80% of the students have showed improvement in primary school with reduced disruptive behavior. Last but not the least, as we mentioned, like after using the calm down corner, you can definitely use one-on-one conversation during the lunch break or recess time, so that the child will understand where he has gone wrong, why he's not behaving in such a way, and why did he behave. We need to understand the root cause of it. So such children will definitely expect individual care and attention from the teacher. So it will be better if we take it one-on-one rather than a whole in a whole classroom, by, like just consistently keep calling that student's name, or, like by it will rather increase the disruptive behavior than reducing the disruptive behavior. The next strategy would be implementing a consequence. A consequence doesn't mean immediately, like you punish the child, or, like you don't allow him for his favorite, like class or whatever it is. It doesn't mean it means that we can implement a positive consequence as well as, to a certain extent, a negative consequence. But it shouldn't be where the child is, like going through a punishment. He should understand that this is given to me because of this misbehavior, and I might not repeat it. So first they need to, as I mentioned, clearly it should be outlined to the students, and which in turn healthy consequences can help the children mitigate their misbehavior. Let's see an example here for positive consequence. It could be of 3 types. You can use tokens or tangible items or even activities for the children to, like understand whenever they misbehave a lot of times. You can have like a strong positive consequence which we use frequently, and it is, like used freely, and you can use even at intermittent intervals. And this has to be in a strong, and it has to come for a long term. So child needs to understand that why this consequence is being used. For example, if you're using a calm down corner, it is a kind of, like consequence where the child is removed from the entire classroom setup, and you are going to have a one-on-one conversation with him later. So you need to understand why, child needs to understand why this consequence is given to him. The next would be negative consequence. Immediately, without starting or targeting the child, you can start with a class reminder. Then you can give an individual reminder. You can modify your tone to, give a negative consequence. And then you can, timeout, give a timeout option for the child, like calm down corner. And last resort, you can contact the parents if the misbehavior is not at all acceptable inside the classroom. For example, not being attentive, you can actually correct it. For example, if ends up in a peer fight, then definitely that has to, be informed by the parent to the parent, and we need to understand why such is it a behavior that he explicitly shows at home. Also, we need to understand the root cause. So by using this, you can use calm tone all the time. But when we are giving a consequence, you need not, use a very rude tone, or you need not differentiate it. You can use a calm tone so the child knows that actually teacher is correcting me. So we have given a sample here. If you see the consequence, first offense, you're giving a warning, and then for second offense, you are giving him a timeout. So likewise, you can, intensify the warning system, and the consequences can be given accordingly. The last strategy for this part would be love and logic, where we talk about, how we could use positively the teaching solution, and how we could implement a practical classroom management through research-based principles. So this basically is where you can use statements like, I listen to students only who raise hands. So you are again coming back to, positively reinforcing your classroom expectation. So if we have a class rule that whoever wants to talk to the teacher during the class, they will raise their hand. So you can reinforce the language here, where you tell, I listen to students only who raise their hands, rather than using negative statements. I will not listen to students who are not raising. So kindly use positively reinforced statements like, I listen to one person at a time. I teach when there are more distractions and other problems. You can have pause time in your classroom and then continue your teaching. So this strategy, more than 90% of the teachers and school leaders have found this useful, and this has been used widely in colleges and schools, as well as these strategies are even taught to the parents to practice this at home, where there is a uniformity in classroom as well as at home. So we have seen three strategies here. One would be love and logic language. The second, the previous one was, implementing a consequence. And we did also see about implementing a support system for the child, where this 12 to 15% of the children who show disruptive behavior can be handled using these kind of approaches, where we concentrate on each and individual child. So I would like to launch one more poll just to, understand about the strategies that we discussed now. Kindly, you will be able to see the poll on your screen. Start answering the poll. It will help us to understand whether, we have conveyed it right. Yeah. Thank you so much for answering. I see 100% of teachers answering. I will listen to the students who raised their hands. Thank you so much. Right. The love and logic strategy uses positive reinforcement statements like, I will listen to the students who raised their hands. Thank you so much for answering the poll. Last strategy would be tier 3 model, where children who still show disruptive behavior needs a personalized support. Exactly when we talk about severe disruption, disruptive behavior inside the classroom, children definitely need attention from the teachers as well as their parents. Let's see what are all the important strategies that could be employed to mitigate this severe disruptive behavior. One-on-one coaching is very essential regularly for this particular child. So let it be, for example, there is a behavior that you're seeing consistently that the child is actually showing, and you are trying to like coach the child one on one, like why this is happening, you're trying to figure out the root cause of it. So these coachings will definitely even help the child to understand his mistakes, and he could correct it even before things get escalated. And extra classes, because when they show severe disruption, there is a high chance for the child to not like concentrate on the study material that has been delivered to the child. There is a lot of chance of child missing very very important topics that was taken in the classroom. So teacher being responsive to such situation, we recommend you to be calm and then take it separately, and you can have extra classes if you think the child would have missed those topics. Third would be highly require parent attention, because if we consistently see the behavior is repeated, we recommend you to like bring it to parents notice, as we did see even in the consequences part. And seek professional advice. When we talk about professional advice, we recommend school counseling method to be employed in the schools. If in case that is viable, it is very very essential, and it helps a lot of children to like tackle their disruptive behavior and come back to track, where like you're creating a positive learning environment, and child is equally feeling responsible inside the classroom to be attentive and like to listen to the teacher. So that's why we recommend to seek professional advice for severe disruptive behavior. Even the child might have, like depression issues that a teacher cannot handle. So we recommend to have a professional advice. So let's see what is school counseling here. It generally addresses the issues that may affect the student's academic performance, which we did see a lot of data showed how it impacts the student learning outcomes, as well as their behavioral, it also includes behavioral challenges as well as psychological challenges. So these counseling services are broadly delivered by a school counselor. So we all know a school counselor, when is employed in a class or school setup, he or she provides short or group or individual sessions for these kind of disruptive children, and they support teachers if in case that there is only minimal disruptive behavior, how a teacher can handle. When it is maximum, when they are recommending to seek a professional advice, all these things the school counselor will take care. And generally they conduct a lot of mental health activities inside the school campus. They also provide important inputs in the meetings, how a classroom management can be effectively improved, what improvements they are seeing after implementing this. So these can improve in building the overall school culture. Then check in and check out point person for student in tired behavior system. So even this person could be that one person where the child can reach out to and have conversation with, so that he also will be able to understand that something is not right. How can I like put this thing right? Last is this school counselor would promote positive school life for the child. So school will the student will happily start coming to school, and he might not like feel that school is not a right place for me. All these feelings would be mitigated by a school counselor if we have them in place. So I have a very important case study to bring it to your notice, where Indian schools need counselors as mental illness strikes very, very early in children nowadays. I would like to show you a case study. It talks about a student called Rishika, where she is a 12-year-old student, and she notices that she is being restless throughout, like some time, period of time, and she herself knew that something is not right. So she starts to look around for help, but unfortunately she's not able to like find the help, because both her parents are working, and teachers generally started concentrating in finishing up the syllabus. So she did not get help at the right time, uh, post which after some months, 6 months later, she was diagnosed with acute depression. So for instance, in this case, if this child has gotten enough attention, like at both places, she would have been in early stages. She would have, like gotten her treatment right, and she would have, like not be in a position where she has been diagnosed with acute depression. So it's very important to notice as educators and teachers what the child is feeling, how is the child feeling. So it is very important to have things in place when with respect to behavior management. Also, this shows that Rishika is one of the 12 to 13% of school students in India, as per Indian Council of Medical Research, who suffer from emotional, behavioral, and learning problems. So, as a teacher, we might not be able to, like diagnose certain problems, but definitely a school counselor might detect these problems at a very early stage, which might cause very, very big damages in the later stage. So, we could avoid all these elements in the later stage. So, by employing a school counselor, it is going to benefit the school to the maximum, especially with regards to behavior management. So let's see. We all know, as Vartana, we have been working with different set of schools in different demographies. We understand that all schools doesn't come from, like the same setup. So let's see how we could address these mental health problems based on demography, especially when we take urban schools. You can partner with good mental health organizations or NGOs in and around your city, and you can conduct activities for students regularly. And teachers also can start noticing, like when we implement positive behavior management system inside your classroom, if you are tracking the behavior of the child consistently, you know which child is actually struggling and which child, like is consistently showing negative behavior. You can recommend them to a school counselor by employing a school counselor who can visit the school on regular intervals. So also you can reach out to several organizations which is present in your city, who specialize in mental health. We have mentioned a couple of them here, like Mindroot and The Mind Foundation, where they offer special programs for mental health, and they conduct activities regularly in school for school children to develop mental health programs. So we recommend for urban schools to employ a school counselor, because it is it is viable for them to appoint a school counselor, whereas for rural schools, that is not an option of, like having a school counselor regularly at school. Then what can we do? You can invite a mental health expert to the school at least once in 2 months, or you can decide the time frame which would be applicable. You can even ask the expert, like what could be a viable solution, since we are in rural like demography. And you can build the teacher community accordingly to track student behavior and seek help from the expert. If the misbehavior is at peak, then you can ask the expert advice. You can also reach out to NGOs like Sangant and Arogya Seva, who actually work in rural communities and schools. You can see whether that is applicable for your city and for your environment, and you can like employ such NGOs in your school to conduct activities regarding mental health. Also, you can receive counseling assistance from these organizations. They have free helplines. You can consult with them when you see severe disruptive behavior inside your classroom, if in case if it is not viable to have regular school counselor inside the classroom. So kindly note down the numbers that we have with here. We will also send out the PPT to all the participants soon, so that you can have the numbers from the PPT itself. So here we have given you a sample routine. So we have discussed a lot of strategies with the three tiered levels of classroom approach. So you can like use this simple routine to start implementing positive behavior management in your classroom, right from organizing your environment, how your classroom setup should look like. From basics you can start, and then you can implement the strategies that we have discussed one by one. So right from entry routine, you can have a positive greetings at the door, as we discussed earlier. And even by placing their bags and lunch bags, you can have like clear expectations from the child, how the child is supposed to, what is the procedure to keep their bags at their designated places, what kind of system they have to follow, rather than, like doing a haywired routine. We can teach them the routine by entering the class. Where are you supposed to go and keep your bags? So the child, when he starts to practice it every day, it becomes the routine to the child regularly. Even these small things will matter a lot when it comes to behavior management. Then by submitting their homework. So generally when we talk about teachers collecting homework, we either have bench leaders or we say come submit your homework on the table, which will again, like disturb the entire equilibrium of the classroom environment we have created. So you can have simple routines even for submitting their homework, where it has to be submitted, at what time period it has to be submitted. All these things you can explicitly mention and model it, and consistently acknowledge as well as rephrase it to them if you're not doing it appropriately. The second thing of organizing the environment is that how are you organizing the front of the classroom? For example, the students need to see the rules poster explicitly to follow it regularly. So you have to have very few clear rules, a chart that is displayed in front of them, and you can have daily schedules, like explicitly displayed in front of them. You can have morning or end of day procedure. Example, how they are supposed to break for lunch, what are they supposed to do when the class gets over, if there is an emergency toilet break that the child needs to use. You can use token systems, because children have this habit of, like if one child goes, again his peer goes behind him. So you can have simple procedures and like token systems for emergency toilet breaks will definitely not affect the entire class equilibrium. It might take some time for them to come into this routine, but once this is consistently practiced, it will improve the entire classroom climate. So last would be homework or project corner. You can maintain a corner for them to submit their homeworks, or if the teacher is assigning a homework for the next day, teacher can put it up on the corner so that the child is not missing that. So you can use these strategies to organize your environment. Then would be seating arrangement, how you are like arranging your desks. If in case if you are organizing a group activity, definitely we need to understand how this desk arrangement should be there, so that the children will also understand how to work in peers and in groups, which fosters cooperation and communication amongst them. So if in case if we are doing a group activity, you can even use label desk like system, where you can label each of the desk groups and you can use it for calling it out, for submitting their work, etc. And the last would be this is especially for younger children from age groups like 3 to 8, where you can use a specialized or like special or small carpets to avoid disruption, because these children cannot actively work on a peer engagement, where they eventually get distracted by each other. So you can create a personal space for them, so that the teacher can concentrate and see what each and every child is doing. Last part would be rewards and consequences, where it can be as simple as praising the child, like we did see behavior specific praise, catching them being good, you can provide tickets, to a classroom job of maintaining the attendance record, or children love doing all these things. So it could be as simple as a verbal praise to a classroom job. Also, you can reward exceptional behavior for students who are consistently showing a positive change. Even you can use as a consequence, like we did see, cool down corner concept, as well as parent involvement. So you can use these activities in the initial stage to set up the positive classroom climate, and then gradually you can like keep adding to the behavior management cycle. How can we improve using positive statements inside the classroom? You can gradually start using all the other techniques. So with this, we have discussed different tiers of like positive behavior management, and I would like to summarize like what we have discussed in the earlier slides. First, we did see about behavior management and its importance, and we discussed how it impacts the classroom. And then we also did see about student behavior and its causes. We discussed about Rudolf Dreker's goals of misbehavior, as well as what are the alternative solutions, what is positive behavior and what is negative behavior. We did see that in detail. And then we did cover the broader concept of how do we implement positive behavior management inside our classroom. And we did discuss about 3-tier levels of PBS approach, where we did see a lot of strategies for whole classroom approach, targeted approach, as well as personalized support being offered for the maximum disruptive children. And we also did see with the case study of how important a school counselor role for the recent times, where even early children are facing, a lot of mental health problems. Importance of a school counselor we did see. And then we also covered a sample routine to kickstart your positive management behavior inside your classrooms. So I would like to stop here. If you have any questions, kindly raise your hand or drop it in the Q&A session. I would definitely like to answer them. I did see a question. How is this possible above 60 students in class for room attention? Ma'am, I do understand the classroom strength is huge, and if there are lot of students, it might be difficult, but we recommend to practice and set expectations clearly. Initially, when you start it off, it might be you might see a lot of changes inside the classroom, but gradually you might look or find out, or even identify which children are consistently disruptive. So through that, we have explained the 3-tiered approach. When you implement a small rule for the whole classroom, how you can notice how children are responding to it, first of all. And second, if the child is unable to follow, then you use a targeted approach for those 12 to 15% of children. And last, if there is maximum disruption, kindly use the personal support. I would also recommend, if you have a larger group, kindly use the seating arrangement in such a way that after your observations are made for the first 2 weeks, kindly use seating arrangement like we mentioned in the sample routine. It would definitely help. Any other questions you have, kindly put it on the chat box. Definitely, we would share these slides with you. You can receive it from us. Any other questions? Kindly raise your hand so that we might answer it. Harpreet, ma'am, I'm allowing you to talk. Do you have any specific questions? Kindly ask. You can unmute yourself and talk. Do you have any questions? Okay, I did not see any response from the other end. Okay, I think the session would have been useful. I am posting the feedback form. Kindly fill up the feedback form, and you will be able to receive the certificate from us. And I will also put down the link for the handout. I have dropped the feedback form. Kindly start filling it. Meanwhile, I'll take questions. How to handle distracted children who continuously making noise. Ma'am, I think we discussed something called as calm down corner. Kindly use that strategy. It is very effective, and you can also use positive techniques like catch being good for students who explicitly show positive behavior. By noticing these ticket system or reward system, children also wanted that to be given to them, so automatically the behavior falls in place. But if there is a consistent misbehavior like making noise inside the classroom, kindly use calm down corner, which is very, very useful. You can even start practices like when you like model meditating in calm down corner. It really works. You can ask the child to like even keep calm and use backward counting. That is also very, very helpful. I have posted the feedback form. Kindly use it. I will also paste the link for the handout where we have given a lot of sample templates which you can use it in your classroom. Kindly fill up the feedback form so that you will be eligible for a certificate. Thank you all for being very interactive in the session. During the session, it was very nice to have the session in an interactive way, and I did see a lot of like responses on the Q&A chat box. Thank you, everyone. I hope this webinar would be very, very useful for all of you. See you in the next webinar. Thank you.